Cooking with TC's Views. Cooking with TC's Views. Waka waka. Hey everyone, I'm TC's Views and welcome to this first edition of Cooking with TC. Some of you may know me from Snapchat, Instagram, with me showing off some of my cooking skills, and a lot of my viewers had said, hey TC, why don't you just make a YouTube cooking channel? So I said, okay, sure, why not? Well, what should I cook? I'm gonna start off with something very simple that anybody, any age, any genre can cook. T-bone steak and asparagus. And for those mushroom lovers out there, we're gonna have some mushrooms. So you might be asking yourself, what kind of pan am I going to cook my steak in? Well, this right here is a nice heavy iron pan, nice and solid. You could also use a cast iron skillet because it gets really nice and hot and it cooks the meat evenly. So I'm just gonna go ahead and heat my pan, start my pan, and get it on like maybe a medium heat, and I'm just gonna let that chill out for a bit while I prepare my steak. To start, I trimmed the excess fat off the T-bone steak and I sprinkled with salt, pepper, and garlic powder. So I'm just gonna flip my meat over here. And as you can see, this is about 1 inch thick. And this is a little less under a pound. And you don't need that much salt, but I like to have a generous amount of salt on my steak because it's all gonna sear off eventually anyway. So you wanna season it liberally, but if you have high blood pressure, make sure that you don't use too much salt. But my main ingredients usually is salt, black pepper, and sometimes a little bit of garlic powder. I then drizzle with a little bit of olive oil, just on one side. And what am I gonna do with this excess fat right here? I'm gonna put it in my hot pan. This brings out a lot of flavor, and the original fat from the meat, that's the best type of fat that you can get, right? So we're gonna let this fat render away until most of the fat is all cooked off and the pan has a good amount of fat in there. So a couple of things I wanted to share with you about cooking. Anytime you're cooking with meats, you wanna make sure that you have a cutting board specifically for your meats, poultry, vegetables, and fruits. So as you can see, I've placed my meat on the white cutting board. Everybody in this household knows that the white cutting board is specifically for meats and poultry. And my green cutting board is for my vegetables and some of my fruits. So tonight I'm only cooking for one, and since I'm not gonna need all of those asparagus, I'm gonna put the rest of the asparagus in a glass of water. That way it stays fresh and moist, and it won't go dry, it won't dry out, and then I put it in the fridge. I might make that tomorrow with some scrambled eggs, maybe a nice omelet, who knows. Next we're gonna get into these mushrooms. Again, it's just me, so I'm not gonna use all of these mushrooms, but the one important thing that you wanna know about mushrooms is that, at least what I've learned from all of my TV celebrity chefs, is that you don't rinse the mushrooms. I repeat, do not rinse the mushrooms. So what do you do with the mushrooms? You just take a cloth and then just dust it off. See, that's all. So what I've learned about mushrooms from watching all my cooking shows and my celebrity guys is that it retains a lot of moisture, and you just don't rinse the mushrooms. I have to get back to you on that and why we don't rinse mushrooms. But anyway, what I do is I take the stem out. Some people like the stem, but all you gotta do is just break it. See, and now you have a little hole. And if you want, you could stuff it with things, but today we're not stuffing. We're just gonna slice and dice and throw them in the pan. Now what about the asparagus? How do you prepare asparagus? When I was younger, I was told that you had to peel the asparagus just at the bottom because it gets kind of stringy if you cook it, when you cook it, but I learned that you could just snap it off. And then once I have the idea of place and where I want to snap it off, then I just take the knife and I just chop. So ideally you're gonna line it up, place it down, and just spread them out just a little bit, and then just slice right there. And then you could just throw all that stuff away. And then this is what you're gonna have. And it won't be stringy, it'll be just right for you. It's time to check on our rendered fat of meat. As you can see, all the fat has been cooked off, and it's left with natural fat in the pan. So there's really no need for you to add any more vegetable oil or olive oil or anything like that. But believe me, all of this right here is flavor. So the pan is nice and hot, and you can see a little bit of smoke coming up off of it. You don't want it too smoky because you don't want the alarm to go off. But now that it's nice and hot, you want to go ahead and put your meat in the pan and let it cook. Just leave it alone. Don't bother it. So we're going to let that steak cook just maybe about like 4 to 5 minutes. I like my steak medium rare. I really like it rare, but I usually take it out the pan when it's like about rare, and then I let it sit off to the side and let it rest, and that way the juices just redistributes and it settles into the fat and everything, and it's just so good. Now for some of you who likes your steak well done, leave it in the pan a little bit longer, but there is a way that you can test it out to figure out if it's rare, medium rare, or well done, and it's all in the palm of your hand. So if you ball your hand up in a fist like so, and you start from right here and it's nice and soft, when you touch the steak and you feel it and it's nice and soft, that means that it's rare. And you come down in the middle, medium rare, and then right here, it's not pulling back too much because it's well done. So that's how you know that your steak is well done. And I'll test it out for you once my steak is medium rare. And while my steak is still going, I'm gonna cut up some onions that's gonna be caramelized, and I'm gonna add my mushrooms, my sliced mushrooms to that. So I just flipped over my steak and it's nice and caramelized and it's still going. I'm gonna turn this down because I wanna make sure that it takes some time to cook. And it's still rare on the inside. I know that because see how soft it is right now? So in this pan, I've got my sliced onions going, and I'm just gonna let that slowly cook down. And the fat that I'm using in here is my reserved bacon fat. I always keep a little bit off to the side, just so I could just dip my spoon and put it in the pan. It adds so much flavor. And while your onions are cooking, go ahead and add some salt, right? And some pepper. Now, I've been cooking longer than I can remember. Say about since I was like maybe 10. I used to watch my mom and my grandmother and my aunts and my uncles in the kitchen doing their thing. And the one thing that I noticed is that they always season their food throughout the entire process. You just don't season it once and then cook it and then serve it. You have to keep tasting to make sure that it's seasoned. So every layer, every step, you want to make sure that you're seasoning your food. For me, on today's meal, the only 3 seasonings that I'm going to be using is salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Why? Because sometimes that's just all you need. Okay, so I removed my steak from the pan, and as you can see, it is well caramelized. You see those nice bits, the crust from the salt, the pepper, and the garlic powder definitely did its thing. So I touch it right in the center, and it feels exactly how I want it, medium rare. So I'm just gonna let this hang out. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm just gonna leave it pushed off to the side. Next up, I'm gonna go ahead and cook these asparagus, and guess what? It has company, some bok choy. I just felt like throwing that in there. I just washed out the pan that I cooked my steak in, and what I'm gonna do is just add my asparagus with a drizzle of olive oil. And guess what? Salt. And pepper. And we're gonna let that go on medium heat. Just turn it down a little bit. We're just gonna let that sear a little bit. Now, I never used to like asparagus. Why? Because my family always overcooked it. They cooked the hell out of the asparagus until it was wee. And so when I became an adult, I said, I'm not cooking my asparagus like that anymore. So I learned how to cook my asparagus from my favorite celebrity chefs. I think it was Martha Stewart. That's where I learned how to cook my asparagus. I'm pretty sure it was her. So just FYI, you can steam asparagus, you could boil asparagus. I don't recommend boiling it, but you could steam asparagus, you could grill asparagus, and you can saute asparagus. Now let's take a look at what's going on with these onions. I think it's ready for some company. That company is the slice of mushrooms. And don't forget to season in every layer. Every time you add something new, season the pot. So I have black pepper, and of course, some salt. And to have a little fun, I'm gonna add some butter. So Okay, let's check on these asparagus. So they're nice and green, nice bright green. And we're just going to remove them from the pan for now, put them in the bowl. And we're going to quickly cook the bok choy. The bok choy does not take, like, not even a minute really to cook down. So adding it to the pot, going to have it do its thing. Add some salt and some pepper. And just let it do its thing for about 1 minute, then I'm going to take it out. And this is how I like my bok choy. Not overcooked. The roots are still nice and crisp, but it's still bright green. Gonna let it join in fun with it. The asparagus. All right, now back to my mushrooms and onions. Things are looking good. And the mushrooms got that nice color. The onions are nice and caramelized. I'm just gonna turn this off because we're ready. Okay guys, now here is the finished product. Look at how green the bok choy and the asparagus is. Just amazing. And then the caramel, my mouth is watering, I can't take it. The caramelized onions and mushrooms over a nice medium rare steak. It's a masterpiece, love it. Of course, this would not be a cooking show unless there is a tasting. Okay, so since I don't have a cameraman, you can't see me cut into the meat, but believe me, I already pre-cut it. And I'm going to get some of my mushrooms. Can you see it? It's all in there, I swear. I'm gonna get some mushrooms and some onions. I'm gonna try it, see? What? So good. The thing about caramelized onions, if you do it right, cook it low and slow, the onions will become sweet. I promise you, I did not add any honey, I did not add any sugar. The onions definitely made the spot and hit my heart right here because it also sauteed in some bacon fat and it was awesome. And you don't need too much bacon fat. You just probably need like a half a teaspoon and let it do its thing. Add the mushrooms, and what happens with the mushrooms is that it picks up all that flavor. It picks up the flavor from the onions. It picks up the flavor from, excuse me, my mouth is watering. It picks up the flavor from the bacon fat and it's just so good. So good. Salt and pepper, it's all you need. Now, what type of wine do you drink with steak? You're supposed to drink red. I don't have any red. And it's summertime, it's hot, so I'm drinking white. And my favorite white wine these days is Chardonnay. I like the oaky flavor. Once your palate becomes very mature, you can drink whatever wine you want with any type of meat, with any type of fish or poultry. But if you want to be snooty and stuck up and bougie, yes, have red wine with your red meats. Cheers. That's good. Okay, so let's get into this asparagus. Again, this was just salt, pepper, olive oil. Nice and crunchy. It's still firm. You can't hear it, but I can feel it. Definitely crunchy, so good. And again, it's not wilted, it's not gray, it's not meow. It still has a nice firm stance to it. So please, if you don't like asparagus, it's probably because your parents and your family members overcooked it. Don't overcook your asparagus. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it. Okay guys, I hope you loved this episode of Cooking with TC's Views. Finally, I gotta send a shout out to Tone Dog and Kimmy Kim because they were the ones who encouraged me to finally get it done. Hit that subscribe button or just shoot me an email. And if you want this recipe, I'll send it to you. My email is tcsviews@gmail.com. That's tcsviews@gmail.com. And you can find all of my wonderful food adventures and discoveries on Instagram, also TC's Views, as well as Twitter. All right, guys, cheers. Cooking with TC's Views. Cooking with TC's Views. Work.